Like you got these things here. There you go. Yeah. Touch it, you already got it.
I want to turn the volume up.
Just hold it. That volume, that ain't volume. That's it.
Mr. Nelson, we're not ignoring you, believe me. No matter, your attorney has got a private investigator that he's having work on your case. We're going to continue to speak to be and give you a little bit more.
I like the video.
But you use it on video and we see that they know you.
I think that's kids from a Rockville prosecutor's office.
No. I'm seeing you, sir, okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Right, good morning. My name is Pearl Officer Wintersman. Today is Friday, April 4th, 2025, and this is the Public Act 23-169 hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Parole. For the record, Mr. Robinson, the state of Connecticut passed and made effective October 1st, 2023, the Public Act 23-169. It's an act concerning parole eligibility for an individual serving a lengthy sentence for a crime committed before the individual reached the age of 21 and criminal history records erasure. You fall under this act, and this means that you are under the age of 21, that the board shall give great weight to the diminished culpabilities of juveniles as compared to adults, the hallmark features of youth, and any subsequent growth and maturity you displayed while we are reviewing your suitability today. The following board members are present this morning and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, I'm Jennifer Zaccanini.
Good morning, Deborah Smith O'Mary.
Good morning, Robert Sazowskis.
Thank you. Also present and in attendance this morning, we have Attorney Shawn Croshaw. Attorney Croshaw, if you can please state your name, juris number, and business address for the record.
Shawn Croshaw, my business address is 20 Franklin Square in New Britain, Connecticut. My personal juris number is 410878. I have a business juris number, but I don't remember it off the top of my head.
That's okay. Thank you very much. Also present this morning, we have State's Attorney Matthew Gdansky. Attorney Gdansky, if you can also please state your name, juris number, and business address for the record.
Yes, Matthew Gdansky, State's Attorney for the Judicial District of Tolland. The address is 20 Park Street in Rockville, Connecticut, and I don't know my juris number off the top of my head. We rarely use our juris numbers, but if you need that, I can gather it during the hearing.
Yes, that's okay. Thank you. And also present with us this morning, we have Office of Victim Services Advocate, Ms. DeJesus. Mr. Robinson, can you please state your name and inmate number for the record?
My name is Shawn Robinson, but I don't know which inmate number you're referring to.
Mr. Robinson, the inmate number that we have in our records for the Department of Correction indicates number of 148846.
Oh, that's the one from September the 14th, 1986, up Morgan, I think from Hartford. That ain't me. That was someone else's. But I've been serving time under that booking number ever since 86 of October.
Yes, and as I indicated, the Department of Corrections records indicate that that is your inmate number, sir. You can please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Robinson, and the one you just cited, Shawn Robinson.
Thank you. So this is a public hearing in accordance with Chapter 14 Freedom of Information Act, Connecticut General Statute 1-200, which applies to this procedure. If you have any questions concerning the above, please bring your questions to the attention of the panel at this time. Again, this is a public hearing. Mr. Robinson, do you have any questions?
Oh, yes, I do. Like you just mentioned, I would like to know, do you have the right Shawn Robinson? Because like I said again, that number was someone else's number. Someone's been using my name since 1986. And I've been trying to make the public and officials aware of this. People are aware of this. From September the 14th, 1986, someone was arrested while I was working in New Haven. I lived in New Haven, from New Haven, never been in Hartford, Morgan Street jail, or any jail in Hartford.
Yeah, I mean, I can't confirm any of this. We would have to continue your case to look into it further.
That's what you want to do, Mr. Croshaw, because like I said, nobody's answering that question. And that's a very important question. I have documentation that's showing someone was just recently arrested in Hamden. I got the document here. I try to explain this to the...
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Robinson? What are you incarcerated for right now?
Really, I don't even know. I really don't know. I honestly...
Do you know what you were sentenced, what charges you were convicted on and sentenced for?
I know they say robbery and riot, a riot that never happened.
Okay, so you were sentenced for a riot and a robbery.
A robbery from 1986.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
a riot from 1990.
Right.
In Summer State Prison, which never happened. There was never no riot.
Okay, but so what charges or convictions do you believe don't belong to you but belong to another inmate?
I didn't say anybody. I'm not pointing no fingers and trying to say somebody else's or none of that. All I could speak is for myself. The 1986 robbery, I did plead under the affidavit. Now, I came across some documentation of minimus from 1987 that it don't clarify, is ambiguous. It don't clarify what I'm really serving time for or what I did serve time for in regards to 1986 in New Haven. One part of the minimus look like it say robbery. The other part of the minimus says something totally different. The site of the statute is totally different. And I just discovered this. I learned this like in 2020 while I was in Northern.
Officer Wingersman, can you tell him the other convictions, please? The other offenses?
Yes. Let me just-
Right.
I have sentence of total effective sentence, 55 years, 6 months, followed by 5 years of probation for 3 counts of robbery in first degree, attempted robbery first. I have an escape conviction, contempt of court, assault in the second degree, rioting in an institution, and weapon in an institution. Those are the convictions associated with this case.
Do you recall, sir, being sentenced on all of those offenses?
The robbery, like I said again, I got a minimus, all right? It's been a long time, but I know that it was supposed to be in regard to a robbery. All of the particulars, the details, I have no knowledge of. But from what I seen on the minimus is something different than what she just said. What is cited, the minimus is dated September the 4th, 1987. On that minimus, and I brought this to the court's attention, I filed a habeas on that matter because I'm trying to find out exactly what I was sentenced and charged for.
Okay, and what did the court say to you? That's out of our jurisdiction. What did they say to you?
They got me appealing. I think they got a lawyer handling it. So I'm waiting
Okay,
to
so there's
find
some,
out.
it's in, you're waiting. Okay, do you want to continue the hearing until you find out?
We can do that. Yes, ma'am. We can do that.
I mean, it's not up to me. Attorney Shawn, what do you want to do?
If Mr. Robinson is saying he'd like some time to see what the results of that case, then that's what I will ask for.
But we don't know how long the habeas is going to be. That could just, you know how habeas is take.
If this is your hearing, Mr. Robinson.
So I would go with the hearing because I didn't serve whatever time it was on this charge of the 1986. I didn't serve that time 4 times over.
Okay, so you want to proceed today?
Yes.
All right, so do you understand your sentence to be 55 years and 6 months followed by 5 years of probation?
I understand the 55 and a half years. I don't know about the probation, but I understand that.
Okay.
Thank you. So for the record, Mr. Robinson, do you wish to proceed with the hearing at this time?
Yes, and one last question. Do you I would like to know from the board, do you want me to be straightforward or say what you want to hear? That's what I would like to know too.
We always want you to be honest. Why would we want you to tell us what you think we want to hear?
Because it seems like this is what's being tweeted in my ear all the time. So I want to be straightforward. I don't want to come here and run some game or say what you want to hear. I want to be as straightforward as possible.
Yeah, we would appreciate that.
And I would like to know, another question, do my innocence or guilt have any bearing on this honorable board decision?
No, we are not here to determine innocence or guilt. The court has already done that. We're here to determine your suitability for release to the community.
Thank you. All right. These are just questions I had. Since you, besides the third parties mentioning my name in these cases, I'd like to know if any victims, because I heard something about victims, or any physical evidence ever directly involved or linked me to any of these cases or charges. I would like to know is there any victim that says Shawn, this Shawn Robinson, I don't know about any other Shawn Robinson, but this Shawn Robinson ever did any crime to them? Or is there any DNA or fingerprints or evidence, tangible physical evidence that links me, involves me in any charge by the state of Connecticut?
Okay, so evidence, again, is out of our jurisdiction. We're not here to try the case. There is victim input today. I have no idea what they're going to say. That's handled by the Office of Victim Services within judicial.
Okay. And last question, will I receive a fair hearing? That's all I want.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
That's all the question.
Thank you. So as previously indicated, this is a Public Act 23-169 hearing being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Shawn Robinson, inmate number 148846. Mr. Robinson is serving a sentence of 55 years and 6 months, followed by 5 years of probation for 3 counts of robbery in the first degree, attempted robbery in the first degree, escape, contempt of court, assault in the second degree, riot in an institution, and weapon in an institution. There is victim input in this case today. There is also an offender accountability plan in place that has been reviewed and shows that he has completed individual therapy along with voices. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the RT falls within a moderate range risk for recidivism. Mr. Robinson, this is now your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole, and you may begin.
All right, I'm gonna keep it short and brief. I wrote a little something. Since 1986 until 2025, I have been held captive for an alleged robbery without ever being certified to stand trial as an adult, which means that I never received any adjudication or certification hearing before or after I was arraigned in adult court. I have had to learn how to survive on my own and all alone behind these prison walls and closed doors with full-grown adults since I was a child, and I have been in survival mode ever since. My adjustment to this adult prison environment and system was very difficult and trying. First, I would like to thank all of the fair-minded and good-hearted people who lobbied lawmakers to give children a second chance in the state of Connecticut, because without you, I definitely would not be having this hearing today. Also, I would like to thank all of those who have tuned in to show their love and support. Uncle Will, Jay, Teddy, Tasha, Sonia Barbara, Curtis T, James Lewis from WTCC 90.7 FM radio in Springfield, Massachusetts, Attorney Alex Tobis, Attorney James Mortimer, Miss Sally Jorgen, Miss Ivelisse Correro, and Mr. Trey Brown in Black Lives Matter. I have tried to make the best of this bad, nightmarish situation by trying to attend school whenever I'm given the opportunity so I can get my GED. I taught myself how to read and write a little bit since my imprisonment. Also, I have tried to learn the law. I have completed and passed the RLA, Science, Social Studies, and Essay portions of the GED. I just need the opportunity. To take the math test.
Okay, is that the end of your statement, sir?
No, I was.
Oh.
I get to say something after once everybody else is done.
Oh, okay. So during this, my incarceration, being held in here for nearly 40 years, I don't understand why I am being denied parole the previous time. Why am I being denied a fair opportunity to be back in society, to be with my loved ones, to start a life that I never had a chance to have or start? That's what I would really like to know. And that's what I'm ready to do. And I can do that if given the opportunity. Now, people say my institutional record is why y'all denied me in 2015. And then recently, 2023, I was denied parole, claiming my institutional records. The parole officer, Ms. Wangerston, she claims that I have a criminal attitude. I don't understand that, to say I have a criminal attitude. I haven't been involved in any gang activities, drug activities, or stuff like that. They say I'm incarcerated for robbery, but I've never had any incidents of stealing, robbing anybody, taking anything from anybody. So it don't add up. To me, it don't add up. So I'm speaking straightforward. That's how I feel. I don't think I'm getting a fair shake by the DOC, by the state, by this parole board. I done been up to it twice and I've been denied. And I'm shocked that I was denied, definitely the second time. First time I could see being denied, never came before the board before. In 2015, I said, okay, they denied me because they never met me before. But the second time, 2023, 8 years later, you denied me for the same reason, talking about institutional record. And at that moment of time, I had only received one disciplinary report since all the stuff from years ago. It don't add up. And then the parole board turns around and release somebody with a worse record and criminal charge than I ever been accused of. I can understand it. It didn't make sense. I was shocked. And that's what I told the parole officer. It don't make sense to have me in here as a child for 40 years, nearly 40 years, since 1986. I don't have no A felonies. I don't even think I've been charged with A felony. I don't have no murder charge. I don't have no rape charge, kidnapping charge, home invasion charge. I don't have none of these charges. No child molestation charge. People done got murder charge and all these other charges. I don't have no terrorist charge. I don't have none of these charges. And people done been released. And I'm still locked up. And y'all say, hey man, you got an attitude. I don't have a criminal attitude. I have a right to be dismayed and upset if I've been done wrong, unjust. I have a right to. I'm not gonna be disrespectful. I was never disrespectful or on the first parole hearing. I see people walk out the parole hearing, disrespect y'all. I was like, wow, I didn't do that. Second time you denied me, I didn't do that. I listened to you, let y'all speak, and I tried to do programs and stuff like that, but I'm being denied. I've been denied the programs, but I still keep a optimistic and positive attitude. Try to do what's right. Reading, writing, doing whatever programs that's available. The OAP does not apply to me because I was sentenced before the OAP ever existed. But in 2014, 30 years later, nearly 30 years later, I said, I told the counselor, I'd like to participate in that OAP, voluntarily doing this stuff. You know, even though it's not mandated for me to do, I voluntarily try to get involved, do what's right, do what's expected of me. This is what I've been trying to do. I don't understand why it seems like people don't want me to do good in here. Really don't. And I can't grasp it. It don't make no sense. That's why I really don't even know why I'm in jail no more. I really don't. It's been in here so long. I don't even know why I'm in here or what they saying anymore. Real talk. I don't know. It's like a mystery. Only thing I know is that only difference between me and George Floyd, I'm still alive. Only difference between me and Emmett Till, I'm still alive. That's all I know. And I don't know what more can y'all want or expect, but I can tell you what I would do if I'm released. I would try to go out there and spend the rest of my life helping my uncle. He's 81 years old and living alone. So, I want to be there for him. He ain't got too much long to live. Everybody else in my family done passed away. DOC didn't even tell me my mother passed away. They told me nothing. They never even let me go to the funeral, play my last respects. or anything. So everybody that I looked up and raised me, they're all gone. And I ain't been accused of even killing anybody. But everybody I love and know, they gone. I don't know if any robbery or robber ever did as much time as I have. I don't know. And it just is not fair. It's not right. I can't begin to understand the way that Al Rittenhouse can run down the street with an RA-15, kill people, and he's acquitted. I know if I was ever accused of something like that, I probably wouldn't even made it to court. They probably would have executed me, shot me right there dead in the street. You know, that's how I see it now. This is what I see. This is how I feel. This is how I feel that I'm never going to get a fair shake.
Is that the end of your statement, sir?
Did you want to talk a little bit about your discharge, what you tend to do when you're released?
Well, yeah, I would, if I am released, I would, work. I would like to further my education. I would like to try to get involved in community activities and programs, stuff like that, help the youth and the elder, people that's unfortunate can't, do for themselves.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I will go.
Okay. Thank you very much for your statement. I know you had some questions in there. Hopefully they'll be answered throughout our conversation here today. This panel has reviewed your case extensively, everything from the police report, time of your police reports, the time of the offenses, your institutional records that you've already mentioned, the programs that you've taken, disciplinary reports. We received a packet of information from your attorney. We will have questions for you. When we're done with our questions, we'll turn to the Office of Victim Services for input today. And then the state's attorney's office and your attorney will have the opportunities to speak as well. Okay, we'll begin with my colleague, Mr. Szyzowskis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Mr. Robinson.
How you doing, sir?
Good. So, I thank you for your opening statement. And, you expressed some frustration with your sentence and the length of it and your lack of knowledge of some of the charges and that kind of thing. Just like my colleague, chairperson said, our job is to determine your suitability for release into the community. So we're not going to retry the case, and we are not the proper place to address like a long sentence that you feel is unfair and that kind of thing. I do understand your frustration, and I hear it in your voice, and you articulated very well how you feel about all of that. But we're gonna focus on some other things about your suitability and how you've changed over the years and where you're at now, so we can try to figure out if it's appropriate and you're ready and you're suitable to be released into the community, just so you understand what we're doing today, okay?
Gotcha.
Okay. So I read through all the paperwork, and I see that you maintain your innocence of the charges and that you're convicted of, and for many of the disciplinary reports also that you received while you're incarcerated. While I understand your position on all of this, do you feel any remorse for your actions, or do you feel like you take any responsibility for anything any of this that's happened?
I take responsibility of not obeying or listening to my grandmother. My grandmother, she told me about places like this. I didn't grasp or understand at that time. I didn't know the magnitude I've heard of Emmett Till, but I didn't know Emmett Till. I didn't really understand the magnitude of his death, what it meant, until really I saw what happened to George Floyd. Like I say again, I was my mother only child, so I really didn't have any friends. I never ran around with people. So this robbery has nothing to do with me. It don't have my name on it. It's just someone done use my name or mention my name. I have nothing to do or anything to do with a robbery. That's why I took the Alpha Doctrine. The Alpha Doctrine, clearly they said that I'm not admitting any guilt. And I never did admit any guilt to a robbery. No victims ever said I did anything to them. There is no evidence. There's no fingerprints that's linking me to any crimes of that nature.
Okay. So what about the additional crimes that you were convicted of after you were incarcerated, the riots and the assault and so forth?
I tell you, the riot never took place. I'm on the last leg of this sentence, which is the possession of some type of contraband in a DOC. This charge, there was never no type of evidence introduced into evidence at trial that was contraband, weapon, or any nature. There was never no type of contraband on my possession. There was never no contraband ever shown, a picture or video, none whatsoever, just a word of mouth of someone that I had problems with in the past. Now, the victim, I don't know him, and I never had a problem with him prior or after this case in 1990. There was no riot, sir. I kid you not. Nobody was brandishing weapons. There was no refusing to disperse. There was no one refusing to disperse.
Mm-hmm.
This incident of April 1990 was no more than a mere fight amongst some prisoners in the child hall in the prison. At no time was there a riot.
Okay. So the victim that you mentioned, you said you didn't know the victim before or after. Are you talking about the correctional officer? Is that what you're
That's correct. I never had an issue with him, but I know who he is now.
Okay.
But I never had an issue prior or after this alleged incident.
So you say alleged, are you saying that he was not assaulted? Is that your contention that he was never?
I didn't say that. I don't know. Okay. It has nothing to do with me. I am not saying that. I'm not pointing fingers at nobody, and I'm not saying that. No, I was there, but I had no participation in any assault on prisoner or staff.
So it was more than just a fight between. You say it wasn't a riot, but you say it was a fight between prisoners. But a correctional officer was, severely injured. So it was more than a fight between prisoners. The correctional officer had gotten assaulted, but you're claiming it was not by you.
No, I'm talking about riot-wise. As speaking of the charge of riot, I'm speaking like, a riot. There was nobody brandishing weapons. There was no property destroyed. They didn't have to call in the riot squad, the state police, the quench any disturbance. Like I said, this incident relates or is surrounded and occurred due to a fight amongst a couple of prisoners. So that's how it happened.
I understand. In the reports, it said that the correctional officer was injured so bad he had to go to the hospital and everything. It appeared that he was injured by a weapon, from what I read.
Well, like I said, I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
I think it was more than one staff member that got injured. There was several
Yeah.
staff members. If
Yeah,
I'm not,
probably.
if I'm not mistaken, from what I recall, it was more than one staff member. Now, I'm not no Henry Lee, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not no some science forensic expert, okay?
Yeah.
But I can tell you this, right? And I explained this to Mr. Croshaw. In my view, I think what you're talking about only was committed by one person. This is what I believe. I can't prove it. I don't know it. But this is what I believe.
But you're saying there was no riot, there were no weapons, but you know, clearly they were injured by weapons and there were multiple staff members injured. I mean, it's sounding more like a riot now that you're describing it, you know, to me, than a fight between two prisoners, you know?
Like I say again, it was definitely no riot because under the statute, what I've read and the understanding of riot, no one was refusing to disperse. There was no property damaged or destroyed, or they had to call in a riot squad.
Okay.
Now, during the process of the staff trying to intervene and break up the fight, that's when I think they was injured. Okay. But like I said, you know, you're not trying to retry the case, but from what my understanding, sir, from what I gathered in this incident of April 19, 1990, is that, to me, I think those staff that was injured in the way you said with a weapon, that had to be one person. I think only one person committed that.
Okay.
Now, like I say again, that staff that I was falsely accused of assaulting by another staff member that I had issues with, I had problems with, and I always had problems with him. Prior to this day, I had problems. He falsely accused me of assaulting Mr. David Shakowski.
You're talking about a different correctional officer, not the one that was injured.
That's correct.
Okay.
His name is Rodney King, to be exact, so we can be on the same page.
Okay. Rodney
King is the person that I had issues with. And Rodney King is the liar. In his report, he even has.
Okay. No, it's okay. Yeah, I think we're gonna. I understand your position. You're talking. You had a problem with a different person, not the victim. And
right, and that person that I had a problem with falsely accused me of assaulting Officer David Shakowski. David Shakowski never said I did anything to him. I never had a problem with David Shakowski. I never.
Well, I understand your position, sir, and I completely get it that your claim of your involvement in this. I understand fully. So let me ask you this: regardless of you claiming, regardless of your position that you didn't commit these crimes, how do you think that the victims were affected, that were injured? How do you think that, how do you think they felt? I know that you claim that, you didn't commit the, go ahead. Some people were injured seriously. How do you think that affected them?
Well, I personally can't read one mind, but I can say from my experience of being assaulted in here, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't like it. I'm guaranteed they didn't like it. They just probably was doing their job. So like I said, in the process of doing their job, they was injured. So I don't, they like them individuals never did nothing to me. That I can tell you. I never had a problem with any of those individuals.
How do you think they felt when they were recovered and it was time for them to come back to work? How do you think they felt about that?
I have no idea, sir.
How would you feel how would you feel if you were assaulted, had a serious injury, and then you had to go back to work to take care of your family into that same environment? How would you feel about that?
Well, if you look right here, on June the 22nd, I was attacked. DOC allowed somebody to attack me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like it, you know what I'm saying? I wrote it up and, you know, I was upset. I was upset. So I can imagine that if that happened to me, what happened to them, I would be upset because I was upset what happened to me. So right here, I was cut, beat up, attacked. And then when I defend myself, I get in trouble. I get fired. I lose my job. I lose my correspondence. They take my mail away from me and stuff like that. So, you know, I can imagine.
All right. How do you feel like you've changed during your incarceration?
Well, I've matured. I'm 50, be 55 tomorrow. I'll be 55 tomorrow. I'm matured. You know, I don't deal with stuff emotionally like a child would. You know, I as an adult, I know how to write it up. You know, I know how to think before I react. That's one way. I would say compared to back then, I understand that life is not fair. So just because I'm wrong, there's no need for me to hoop and holler. Just because the guard opened my door and allowed somebody to attack me and I defend myself, then I still get in trouble. There's no need for me to, you know, just self-destruct. You know, instead, I write it up. Instead, I let the courts know about it. I let my attorney know about it. You know, I let the right people know they can do something about it, you know, like that.
Okay. I also read some information in here that you've been attending religious services and that you feel that helps you. Can you talk about how that helps you?
I'm studying in 10 religious service, number of religious service. You know, it's something that it gives positive energy, positive motivation. You hear something that, you know, you might never heard before, or you might hear someone else's life story or problem or crisis. For example, Job. I guess if everybody ever heard of Job, Prophet Job, you know, he lost all of these things, his wealth, children, but he stayed fast. He maintained some type of optimism, a positive outlook on life. So, you know, when you hear those type of things and people prior to you, or for example, what Jesus went through, you know, if he can go through it, then I'm you know, it gives you inspiration. You can do it. You can make it. You know?
Okay, well, I'm glad that's helping you stay positive and give you some inspiration. I think you articulated that well, sir, about how you're benefiting from that. You know, you had a hearing in May of 2023. You spoke about it in your opening statement a little bit. And during that discretionary parole hearing, they asked you to complete some any positive programs and not get any additional disciplinary reports. It wasn't that long ago, so I guess almost 2 years ago. Do you remember that hearing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And it looks like, you know, when I reviewed all your files, I haven't seen that you've completed any programs since then, like they suggested. In addition to that, you've gotten disciplinary report for a fight in June of 2024. You've mentioned it a couple times now. Is there anything that you think you could have done different during that incident of June of 2024 that could have maybe resulted in you not receiving a disciplinary report?
Only die. Only let them beat me to death. That's it, man. Because I'm single cell status. He got me in a facility that I shouldn't have been in, Corgan Correctional Center. I've been sentenced since 1987. I should never been there around pretrial detainees. They had me in a facility that they sent me there to have problems as a form of punishment in retaliation for my grievances in litigation. That's why they sent me there. And so I'm in my cell. The staff, he has a key, physically opens the door with the key. It ain't like it accidentally popped open, or they made a mistake and he thought he was opening the door for somebody else to get it. They know me. I'm single cell. I've been there 4.5 years. All right. In that time that I spent in Corrigan from September of 2020 until this year of January 2025, I have received more disciplinary reports at that one facility than 3 facilities combined in the past 6.5 years. From 2014 to 2020, I was in Gardner, Cheshire, and Northern. And I only received 2 or 3 disciplinary reports. In Corrigan, I received about 4 or 5. All right. And from the past 11 years, I only received like 8 or 7 disciplinary reports in the state of Connecticut. So other than me just balling up and dying, let them kill me like George Floyd, there's nothing else could be done. I'm in a cell. I'm fighting for my life. Okay? I'm going to defend myself. I ain't going to sit up here and lie to you. Somebody put their hands on me, I'm going to defend myself to the fullest, best way I can. I'm too old to be taking, getting cut up and stabbed and beat up, stomped out. I'm too old for that, man. I can't take that. They got me real good. I was attacked twice in one day. One day, and the DOC promoted it. DOC staff there in Corrigan promoted it in retaliation for my grievances.
Well, why do you think that these people, the other inmates that attacked you, why were they upset with you? Like, why did they have a problem with you?
I don't even know these people. Never even met them. Never even spoke to them. It was promoted and instigated by DOC staff there in retaliation for my grievances. I'm telling you.
It's unusual for someone that's been incarcerated this long at your age to still be receiving disciplinary reports. You understand that, right?
Hey, I have no control of some of the bogus and false disciplinaries that have been used against me. All right. I'm attacked. I was attacked. I tried my best. I know what the parole board said. Why would I want to engage myself to some type of activity?
Yeah.
Look, just check it out. Check this out. You know how long I've been incarcerated?
Yes.
You know how many disciplinary reports that Eddie said I done received over these past 4 decades?
462, it says 462.
Okay. Is any of those disciplinary reports, not one said I was involved in drugs, gang activities, or robbery, taking people property or any stuff like that? Everything, they fight. Okay. Yeah. All right. This prison is going to happen. But that fight, I probably would never had if I wasn't in that environment. These dudes are younger than me, man. I'm not going to let these dudes walk over me, man. For real. I'm not going to let these dudes walk over me. I think they give me this because I got a little bit of gray now. You think you could just do what you want to me? Like, I'm telling you, sir, I never even met this guy. I don't even know this person. I never even had one word. I never even had one word, bad word, or any type of confrontation for this individual to do what he did. Come running in my cell. And then the other one knocked me out. The first assault, I got knocked out. I ain't even see it coming. I'm minding my own business. I get knocked out. So they didn't write me up for that. They sent me back to the unit. I'm all bloody, cut up. You know what I'm saying? I go back to the unit. Now I'm in the cell wondering what's going on, what happened. So all I could think of is DOC. So the DOC staff, he opens up the door. Patterson opened up the door. Dude come running in. Now I'm ready, though. This time I'm in my cell. I'm by myself. I'm ready. for whatever is coming. I'm ready. So I defended myself like I supposed to.
All right. We oftentimes see people that have disciplinary reports when they first enter their incarceration while they're trying to adjust the situation. And these kinds of things you're describing do happen. But, my experience has been as people get older and they get more acclimated to the environment, that these things kind of stop happening. And then, when they start coming up for parole and we're trying to determine suitability, there's been some years of no problems in the facility. So, we like to see that so we can feel more comfortable with your suitability going out into the community. So that's why I'm asking about those things. That's why we focus on. I understand your frustration at the last hearing was that you felt like they were scrutinizing you about these disciplinary reports and your behavior. But I just want to explain to you, that's why we look at that, because we want to see if you're suitable. Are you ready to comply with the laws of living in a community? So that's why we ask those questions. When the parole officer interviewed you before this, and you mentioned this also in your opening statement, sir, they asked you about your programs and your OAP, and you said, well, that stuff doesn't apply to me. So I'm trying to understand why you believe that taking programs and proving to us and to yourself and getting yourself help toward rehabilitation and making yourself more suitable, why does that not apply to you?
No. I'm not. I don't mean it like that. I mean,
okay.
OAP as for sentenced prisoners is certain prisoners that recently that got sentenced. It applies to them. It's like a mandate. So
you have an OAP, so you have offender accountability plan, and it lists the programs that you should be taking so that you can lead toward rehabilitation and successfully transitioning back into the community. They design these programs to help you with that. But so you do have an OAP and it does apply to you. And you should be taking those programs.
I signed that voluntarily. What I mean, okay, so this is what the DOC is saying. So when I try to get in these programs, and they say it don't apply to me. The people that it applied to, they get top priority. They get first come. They get the participate before me because it don't apply to me. I'm doing it voluntarily. I signed for it in 2014. I've been sentenced since 1987. So before OAP even exists, there was no such thing as an OAP. So I was talking to a counselor and she brought it up and said it would help. It would help.
Yes.
Right. And so, and it was something to do positive. So that's why I signed. I want to be involved in it. That's why I participated voluntarily. I'm not participating in it because it's mandated.
Oh, I understand that.
I'm participating in it because I want to show that I'm trying to, do good. I'm trying to do something positive with my time.
And just like when you talked about the religious services, that you get inspiration and hope and all those things you said about how that helps you, these programs will help you in the same way.
Absolutely.
You know what hurts you in getting programs? How you get to the back of the list on getting programs is this disciplinary reports. That puts you to the back of the list, So they don't give people programs that are going to be disruptive during the program and have a record of getting into fights and other things. So that's not helping you when you try to get into programs,
So from 2014 to 2019, how many disciplinary reports I got? Because for like 5 years, almost 5 years, I didn't have a disciplinary report. So
and you were in a program. You took voices during that time, right? They put you in a program. Okay. Remember taking that?
Yes, but then how am I in the programs that they wouldn't allow me to take during that time? I didn't have any disciplinaries. Yeah. So I didn't have, there's no excuse. I was in Corrigan all that time. I didn't have any disciplinary report for 2 years. Why wouldn't they didn't let me?
I can't answer why, but I can tell you this though, if you get disciplinary reports, you definitely go to the back of the list. They definitely don't want people into programs that are going to be disruptive and that kind of thing. So you can understand why I do that. So on your OAP, your offender accountability plan that you do have, I saw that you have anger management listed on there. Do you think that that might be a program that would help you?
I don't feel I have an anger management issue, but I would
It's more
like
to
to
deal with, it's more to deal with how to appropriately deal with stressful situations and, you know, the stresses that might happen to you when you're in the community and how you can anticipate dealing with that so that you don't end up in a fight or some other situation, you know?
Right. Well, I would like to, if it has, you know, something that I can get out of it that's positive, of course, I don't mind having no problem taking it, but I don't want to sound offish, but if it's just to take it and make it sound good, I'm not going to just sit up here and lie to you and say I would take.
That's not what I'm suggesting. People have come that have taken it, have come forward to these hearings, and they're able to articulate to us, like, you know, I learned these breathing exercises, the very specific things. I learned how to journal. I learned how to do things so that way, when I do get in a stressful situation or I'm encountered with a difficult situation, that I have ways to manage that, so it does not end up in me being arrested or in a fight or some kind of negative outcome. So. Right. I have not taken a program, but I can tell you when people come in front of me, I believe them that they've gained valuable information from like anger management and from new thoughts and some of the other programs that they offer in there. That's why they're on your OAP. You know, so I would encourage you, regardless of what happens today, to continue advocating for yourself to get into programs. It's only going to help you.
I would try, sir.
Okay. It's only going to help you. You know, you talked about your GED, and I read that you've been working on that. Can you just go over that a little bit? Where are you at right now?
I passed while I was in Corgan. I had passed the social studies, science, and did the essay on the RLA. Only thing I was about to finish taking was I need the math.
Okay. Have you heard anything about that program or trying to get back into getting the math done?
Yeah, I've been trying to get that. They wrote me since I've been here. I wrote to the school. I wrote to the deputy warden, and she said she would be trying to talk to the principal to get me in there to finish that. But I'd really like to do that.
Well, that's positive that they're responding and talking to you about getting it done. Okay. You know about this situation in Rhode Island? Are you familiar with this? What your detainer in Rhode Island?
Absolutely.
So, do you remember what happened there that led to another conviction? Like, how did that come about?
That's a possession charge.
That was after you were incarcerated that took place?
Oh, the Connecticut sent me to Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Okay. So while you were incarcerated there, you picked up another charge and then you went to trial and received another sentence.
Yes, that is correct.
So regardless of what happens in Connecticut, at some point, you're going to have to get that resolved in Rhode Island after this.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Let's talk about your release plan. And you wrote about your uncle, and I heard you mention it today. And you know, trying to be involved in your community in different ways you talked about. Do you want to live with your uncle? Do you want to go to a halfway house? What do you think is best for you when you get out?
Well, I thought, you know, since my uncle up in age, about like 82, he just had a birthday in the last month. You know, he lives alone. My aunt passed away, and his daughter, my cousin, she lived down south. So, you know, I thought maybe to be with him and help him out. You know, I can do chores around the house, you know, and you know, like that. We can help each other because he's been living his life for a long time. So he can show me how the ropes and the scoops of cars and payments, notes and mortgages, you know, paying bills, utility bills and stuff like that, grocery shopping, you know.
What do you feel about the area that he lives in? Is it a safe? Would it be a safe area for you think?
That's the ideal area. It's peaceful. It's like way out there, you know, and You ain't got no traffic, no bad activities or acts going on out there. Norfolk, you ever heard of Norfolk?
Yes, sir, yeah.
Yeah, so it's nice out there, Norfolk. When I was real little, I remember being taken out there and riding on the horses. They got like this place, this ranch or this farm, and they allow people to come in and ride on horses and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a nice part of the state, for sure.
For sure,
So,
absolutely.
Sir, those are all the questions I have. I just want to thank you for, despite your frustration with this whole situation, for being respectful and answering my questions. So thank you. That's all I have.
I thank you
you.
too, sir.
Mr. Robinson, happy early birthday.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify a few things that you said. You did make note of your last parole hearing, and you mentioned that you were surprised that they denied you when you only had one disciplinary report, but that's not true. You had 5 disciplinary reports, one of which resulted in outside charges. The assault, do you remember the assault with the fan?
Like I said again, that was no contest alpha doctrine. Only reason why, and I'm gonna tell you why I pled to that, is because I couldn't get the parole hearing. They said while that charge was pending, I couldn't get no parole hearing. That individual also made it clear to the state and the DOC that they was not pressing charges against me. I had nothing to do with it. He never said I did anything to him.
Well, so I read the disciplinary report, and in the disciplinary report, you admit to assaulting him with a fan, and you say that you never altered the fan, so you didn't think it was a deadly weapon. You didn't think it should be considered a deadly weapon.
That's probably what they wrote. You don't have my handwriting or saying that.
You signed it.
I didn't get found guilty for no weapon.
Okay. All right.
So
Anyway, I just wanted to clarify the point that you made that the parole board denied you for 1 ticket. That's not accurate, sir. But anyhow.
2015, if I'm not mistaken, I only had 1 ticket or display report in the state of Connecticut for alleged threats. And that's what I was referring to, but maybe I misspoke.
I'm looking at the records. Yeah, you did misspeak, but that's okay. I'm curious, in all these years, did you apply for a sentence modification with the courts?
I applied for the sentence commutation. Y'all denied it because I don't have the police report. And I told y'all
your application was returned because you didn't have the police report?
From New Haven, and I explained to y'all that DOC have destroyed my property so many times that I don't really have nothing left.
Okay, no, but I meant with the courts. Did you file for a sentence modification to have your sentence reduced with the courts?
I think they did a sentence review or something like that.
I don't believe you did. No sentence modification.
A sentence review, I think, was done a long time ago in the 90s.
All right. So I went back and reviewed all of the parole file that we have. And in 2015, in preparation for that hearing, you were interviewed by a parole officer. And in that hearing, or in that interview prior to the parole hearing, you admitted to committing the robberies and the escape, but denied everything else.
I don't know which Robinson y'all got, but that definitely wasn't me. It could not have been me. There is no way. And then I asked my attorney to get a copy, and am I right or wrong, get a copy of them, the last 2 parole hearings.
We've requested that we have it received.
Right, because I would love to see that. Because I know I never, ever admitted something I didn't do.
Okay.
No disrespect.
No, I understand, but do you remember meeting with an Officer Donato?
Yeah.
I could have. I don't really remember. I remember Bosford. I remember Bosford from Corgan.
Yeah, no, in 15, this was Officer Donato interviewed you, and when I read the interview, it said that you admitted to the robberies and to the escape, but nothing else. Okay, all right.
That's fine.
I read about the chess tournament that you were part of with Princeton University. That was so cool to read about. I really enjoyed that. Have you had the opportunity to do anything similar? Any collaborations with the community, or maybe talk to people who come in from the community? Have you had any experiences like that?
I don't think Connecticut allowed that. I haven't seen Connecticut, not in this level, facilities. I haven't seen Connecticut allow that. They was telling New Jersey State Prison not to allow me into the Sports Illustrated. I didn't get to play in that chess because in Connecticut told them they didn't want me on in the magazine. So, but I got on ESPN. I was in ESPN though. I was definitely ESPN. You will see me on ESPN.
Okay. All right. Are you working now?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I did notice. So you're getting, looks like you're getting good time at, what is it, 12 days a month? And at one point you were getting job credit 4 to 5 days a month. Why aren't you working now?
I don't know why. I guess the job is not available. I didn't request all the jobs. Since the fight, after the ticket cleared, I think 4 or 6 months. Once the ticket cleared, I think 4 months it might be. I was requesting for a job, commissary kitchen, while I was in Corrigan, but they wasn't giving me no jobs. I don't know why, but they did. Like I say, man, I really think people don't want to see me do good. They don't want that. And all I could do is like point out the stuff that if I was such this incorrigible individual, you would have disciplinary reports for gang activity, drug activity, some type of larceny. I'm not involved in that.
Well, no, but I mean, we are concerned about all the assault, fighting, threatening, those are just as alarming.
I cannot express where a staff can write up anything. And you don't have to say a word and you can get found guilty for it.
It's just so rare that we see, and we see people with lengthy sentences all the time, that we see 462 disciplinary. Do you know that you forfeited over 5 years of good time with all these tickets?
I'm aware of that they took and they withheld for about 3 years too, worth of good time illegally.
Yeah.
So yeah. If I had my statutory good time, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. I'd probably already be where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe that can tell you something, miss. Maybe like y'all seen me. This is my 3rd time before the board. Y'all done seen me. So I'm saying, I might not agree or like to what you said at the parole. I definitely like being denied, but I didn't become insolent, disrespectful. Some of the people you had to tell me, hey man, you said, Robinson, you go back and get that guy and tell we ain't finished with him. Remember that time y'all told me to go back and get a certain person because he just walked out? And I went, I said, hey man, they said they want to finish talking to you. He said, man, I ain't going back. You asked me, I did that day. I remember that.
All right. So Ms. Smith-Palmieri was on your last hearing, so I'm going to turn it over to her now. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Robinson, I took the opportunity to listen to the audio recording of our last hearing, and not much has changed. You were still working on your GED. You had done a little bit of employment at the facility in 2019. What I did make note of, you talked a little bit more at the last hearing about the Voices program, and that you thought it was a useful program, and I think you used the word informative and enlightened it.
Yeah, it's something to do positive. I was, trying to adjust and show that, you know, I'm trying to do what is right.
Okay.
That's why I participate in the program. I got the certificates. Did you get a copy of my certificates?
Yes, we did get those from your attorney.
Yeah, I got
Along
the
with
job.
As well, and the stuff of the information about your participation in the chess tournament, you know, so we do have a few things. So we did talk.
Those are the certificates.
Right.
I got good work report performance and stuff like that. That's before the alleged fight or the assault in November of 2019.
Okay, Mr. Robinson. So, you know, let's talk about a couple of positive things, right? We talk a lot about your disciplinary reports. Your work reports were all excellent, as you pointed out, when you were working in the food service then. Said you had a good work ethic, that you got along with others, that you went above and beyond your duties. So those are all positive. And you have been unable to get assigned to a job since then?
Since June of last year, right.
All right. And at the last hearing, you talked a little bit, although you were not assigned a job, you were doing some voluntary cleaning around the unit. Do you still do that?
Well, what I had told you is that if I walk by trash, I just don't walk over it. I'll pick it up and throw it away because I got to live in that environment. If I go in the shower area and it's dirty, you know, I try to clean it. I don't want to be in no dirty shower. So, you know, it's just I think it's like a natural thing to do. You know, if I'm driving down the street and I see something laid out in the road, I see a puppy or something, I'm not just going to just drive by it and then somebody else come in. I'm going to pick the puppy up and secure it, making sure it's safe. You know, I'm not going to. It's just it's a humane thing to do.
And, you know, we've talked a lot about not being able to take programs. What programs would you like to take?
I would like to definitely get back and finish my GED to school program and further my education or vocational, any type of vocational, maybe cutting hair, electronical or food, culinary. Wouldn't mind doing that. I like to eat.
Okay, that's a motivator, right? You like to eat, you'll want to cook nice things, tasty things.
Absolutely.
Okay. You know, I have a note here that says that you refused to sign your OAP in March of 2025 when they were adding new thoughts. Do you recall that?
Because I felt that, like I said, that it didn't apply to me under my sentence. Legally, I wasn't by it. And then it seemed like when I voluntarily signed in 2014, now it's being used against me in a negative way. I'm trying to do something positive, and then the positive thing I'm trying to do turned into a negative. I didn't think it was fair, and the staff said, no, it didn't apply to you, and I didn't have to sign it, so I didn't sign it.
Okay.
But I'm still trying to participate though in those programs though, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm not too familiar with the ins and the outs of whether or not, you know, you have to have signed your program, your OAP to get into a program. But I think that New Thoughts is a good program for everyone and anyone. We could all benefit from New Thoughts, you know, helps you process information, helps you process your decision making. So if it comes your way, you might want to think about it. I would recommend you take advantage.
But like I said, I've been trying to do these programs voluntarily, but they telling me that I'm not on the top of the list because there's other people ahead of me that's mandated. They have obligations. And me, I don't have that obligation, but this is what they're telling me. So I don't get on the list, and I didn't have no disciplinary report at the time, so there was no excuse for me not to be allowed to participate.
Okay, okay. And you know, you do have, I went through all your disciplinary reports because I was interested to kind of track how old you were when some of the bigger clusters of disciplinary reports happened throughout the years. And I did note that you do have small pockets where you didn't seem to have any troubles. You know, like, for example, 2017, 16, 17, 18. Looks like you were at Gardner and you didn't seem to have too much trouble. You know, I don't have any disciplinary reports throughout that particular time frame.
Right, 2016, 2017, 2018, you're correct.
Yeah. So how are you managing to stay out of trouble then? Do you recall what was going on?
Well, you know, honestly, I wasn't writing nothing up. So if you don't write nothing up, you don't really, you're under the radar. You don't get no retaliation. Once you start writing stuff up or you have an issue and then you write it up, you become a target. There's going to be some type of reprisal, informally or formal. Informal is disciplinary reports. That's the main reprisal when you start filing grievances or filing lawsuits, etc., things like that. You start having problems bumping heads with administrative or staff.
Okay. Well, I you know, things have improved. You know, you went from in 2011 to getting roughly 87 disciplinary tickets to, you know, one or two a year for the last 5 or 6 years. So it seems like maybe you are settling in. When's the last time you talked to your uncle?
A few months ago.
A few months ago? Okay, so you do have some contact with them every few months?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Robinson, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Palmieri. Okay, at this time, we will ask the Office of Victim Services to facilitate input. Ms. DeJesus, thank you for joining us.
Good morning, board members. I don't see the victim on here. Can I be given a brief moment so that I can contact them?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. I do have the victim on the line. This is your opportunity to express to the board your wishes and your concerns. I am to remind you that you are to address the panel members only, and you may begin.
Hi, I just signed in today. I mean, this is 31 years ago, and I signed in today hoping that I would see, you know, someone that had, you know, went from a 20-something-year-old to an adult and grew up and was able to, you know, point out what they've done over the years, how they've, you know, whatever. There's all kind of things. It's just, It seems like there's lots of unresolved issues here with his cases, with, all these things that went on. I'm not sure, where you're going to go with this, but I don't know why we're even at this point if all the other criminal cases in his mind are unresolved. He's basically still saying, I wasn't there, I didn't do it, there's no direct evidence. So I really would like to see, I love it when people get out and stay out. That's the best, but it seems like there's a lot of unresolved issues. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. That's all I have, board members.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we are going to offer each of the attorneys an opportunity to speak and make a statement. We'll begin with State's Attorney Gdansky. If you have any remarks you'd like to make, you may do so now.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to the hearing. Upon getting notice of the hearing, I was able to find the old files and I was able to forward them to the board. Has the board had an opportunity to see the old files, which included some photographs?
Yes.
Okay, I have a copy.
Yeah.
I have a copy of the photograph for the victim, for Mr. Robinson, with me, and I could hold it up to the camera if you need me to.
It was in relation to the riot that took place. There were
Yes.
photographs.
Yeah, they weren't, it wasn't very clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could hold it up.
Yeah.
It wasn't very clear. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Photocopy of that, so.
Yeah.
it's a photocopy, so it's not very clear. Yeah. Thank you.
Obviously a very serious injury. And it is unfortunate that Mr. Robinson went into corrections at a fairly young age. And you have all these records, but just for the record, I'll repeat some of it. He was at Morgan Street and Union Avenue as a fairly young adult, and ultimately to New Haven Correctional Center. And then I'm assuming after that conviction from New Haven, they transferred him to Manson Youth. And so he spent some time at Manson, where he probably should have been from the beginning. And I know corrections would handle a person of Mr. Robinson's age at this time much differently than they did back then. When he committed the crime here in Tallinn, taking part in the riot and assaulting CO Sarkoski, he was 20 years old. And when he was sentenced, he was 21. And I could see from the records that he's had discretionary parole hearings before, and the board spoke about it this morning, in December of 2015, and then again in May of 23. I know the board mentioned 462 tickets. I don't want to quibble, but the number looks to me like 482. I'm not sure I've seen a total as high as Mr. Robinson's, perhaps with the exception of one inmate in my entire career. And as the board noted, he has had 2 disciplinary reports since his last discretionary parole hearing. He had a security tampering in April of 24, and then the fighting in June of 24. He also has that 3-year consecutive sentence out of Rhode Island that Mr. Robinson euphemistically refers to as a possession charge, but the board knows that that was a weapon charge. And unfortunately, he has spent most of his life in prison. But the more unfortunate thing is, instead of taking the opportunities that corrections has provided to him over many, many years, he has not taken many of those opportunities. In fact, has continued to engage in violent, sometimes criminal behavior, including the riot in Summers back in 1990. I know for Mr. Robinson, he wants to put it all on that I didn't do this. And in fact, that seems to be a theme for Mr. Robinson. It's never his fault. It's always somebody else's fault. But there were witnesses. There was an eyewitness that identified him as the one who assaulted CO Sarkoski. But there were other witnesses as well that testified and made statements that he was part of the riot. Part of the record that I forwarded to the board was a statement from another CO that said on the above date, which was April 19th, while escorting inmate Robinson, he stated, quote unquote, "Mark my words, Allah, as my witness, I'm going to kill one of you motherfuckers, and I'll have to go to the electric jail. This occurred in segregation. Mr. Robinson did take part in this riot, and it was a riot, and 3 corrections officers were injured very severely. He's not George Floyd, and he's not Emmett Till. He's not a victim. And unfortunately, he has very little insight as to his role in all of his actions. No acceptance of responsibility. It's always somebody else's fault. In fact, he stated today he wasn't the one who even committed the robbery. And he wasn't in this correctional facility or not. It just seems it's always some sort of dodge, somebody else's fault, not his. And to me, that's the real unfortunate part of all of this. That so many years later, decades later, there's no insight, there's no acceptance of responsibility. And as the board pointed out, I don't have access to these records. The opportunities that Mr. Robinson must have been presented over the years and decades, he's taken very little of them. I cannot think of a worse candidate for parole. And I know Mr. Robinson's gonna be on the street at some point. As the board pointed out, he's given up almost 5 years of good time. He might have been out if he could have just behaved himself, but he can't. He can't because he doesn't take the opportunities that corrections presents to him to better himself and provide insight to himself. And he's still a violent, aggressive person. And maybe those things go hand in hand. So I can't think of a worse candidate for parole. I know we're here because of a change in the law. And in fact, he's already had 2 parole hearings. I don't know when the next one occurs, but maybe at this later stage in his life, perhaps Mr. Robinson hears the board, and I heard the board today, questioning, and I'm reading between the lines of why you didn't sign the plan and why didn't you take this opportunity. Behave yourself so you can get a job. Maybe he finally hears the voice of the board and he can see a path out, and that is to behave himself and take the opportunities and maybe better himself. But at this point, even after all these years, after all these decades, he's not there yet. And I'd ask the board to deny this parole.
Thank you, Attorney Gdansky.
Thank you. At this time, Attorney Proshaw, if you have any final remarks you'd like to make, you may do so now as well.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. Just to clarify, was that Officer Sikorski on the phone as the?
Mr. Jesus?
I'm trying to figure out who was on the phone.
Yeah, I'm asking the office. Yeah, I'm asking the Office of Victim Services now.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes. The question is, which victim gave a statement today?
I would have to confer with my supervisor to see if that's something that, because I was under the understanding that the victims don't have to state their name as long as we verify that they are a victim.
Okay.
Do you wish for me to verify that with my supervisor?
Please, yeah. We don't need a full name, maybe just initials, if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was.
Initials, other.
I think there's not normally multiple victims, so you're left guessing. I don't know.
We
We'll see what they come back with.
All right, would you like me to proceed or should we?
Please, yeah, please.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson is asking me to share with the board that he was never at Morgan Street. But I will try to be brief. Sentences should reflect the seriousness of the offense and be proportional to the harm to the victims. We believe that 38 years that Mr. Robinson has served has certainly accomplished that goal. His case serves the cautionary tale to anyone who might consider committing the same offense. Mr. Robinson has made substantial efforts towards improving himself. Although he has stated the OAP doesn't apply to him, it hasn't stopped him from participating in programs. He's also on the waiting list for others. I think he should be given full credit for his voluntary participation in those programs. It also deserves noting that despite his limited means and abilities to contribute to others, he was able to contribute to the nonprofit National Diaper Bank Network. In terms of a discharge plan, Mr. Robinson will benefit from the structure and support that might be offered from a halfway house. He has also indicated there is someone who will help with employment, but if that falls through, he will need some additional support. In terms of employment, he's expressed interest in being a hearse driver, as well as getting a job in pest control. His goal is to live a humble, meaningful life without ever getting into trouble again. For those reasons, we ask the board to find that there's a reasonable probability that he will live at liberty without violating the law, and that the benefits to society weigh in favor of granting him parole and to grant his parole. I believe that granting him parole will promote respect for the law by recognizing that the sentencing judge did not have the benefit of the Miller-Graham decision, and that this body can now do right by Mr. Robinson. Without minimizing the injuries suffered by the victims, we know that people have been convicted of far more serious crimes, including murder, who have served less time. It also deserves noting that Mr. Robinson was found not guilty at trial of the charge of assault first. In closing, 38 years is a very long time for a person who began as being incarcerated at 16 years old. We believe he deserves a chance at a meaningful opportunity to live his life outside and to begin his life again. So we're hoping, Your Honor, the board will grant application for parole.
For the display, you said I had 2 for the security chairman.
Yes, and he asked me to inform the board that he was found, it's not found, he was found not guilty of one of the.
What the Mr. Matthews said for security chairman,
Yeah.
that was wrong.
Of one of
I'm
the
not guilty.
tickets with which he was charged, he was found not guilty.
Did see a not guilty ticket in there.
Yeah, there is a not guilty ticket from April of 2024 for security tampering. Yeah.
He said I was found guilty.
Oh,
So.
okay.
If it's not guilty, I apologize. I can't see the finding. I can just see the sanction. So there's a punitive segregation 10 days.
No,
And
that's
assault.
for the assault underneath it.
I see. Okay, I apologize then. But it is still listed on his.
Right, that's all them disciplinary reports that you named, the number, what you said, 580 something? All
No,
of
he
those-
said 482, but yes,
Oh, okay.
this incarceration, we have 462 guilty disciplinary reports.
I see. Okay,
Yes.
I understand now.
I understand where you got the number. Yep, okay.
Regardless if I'm found not guilty or
Yeah.
acquitted at trial, they still are listed, so
Right.
it doesn't matter. And one other thing, sir, on that riot, I hate to inform you, but I don't know if you ever heard of Commissioner Larry R. Beecham. He never declared April the 19th, 1990 as a riot. That's the law. He never declared that incident as a riot. So, that's in black and white.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Kershaw. You're all set, right?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's circle back to the Office of Victim Services. Ms. DeJesus, did we get a response? Yeah, please. Oh, here she is.
Madam Chair, I'm still waiting for a response.
Okay. Would you like to recess until we get a response from the Office of Victim Services? Attorney Kershaw?
Yes, Mr. Robinson is indicating yes, we would like to recess.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute recess. We'll come back.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so we're back on the record and we do not use full victims' names on a live stream, but the Office of Victim Services is going to give us the initials of the victim. Mr. Jesus, thank you.
Chairwoman, they are DS.
DS, thank you very much. Is that sufficient?
Well, we still don't know how that person is related to this case.
He was a victim of an assault.
Well, not the assault of which Mr. Robinson was convicted.
The documents that we've received and have reviewed, he is.
We good,
Oh, I'm sorry, my mistake.
we good, we good.
All right, okay, thank you. Thank you for doing that.
No, sorry.
Thank you. Okay, we're done with all the statements. So at this point, the panel is going to discuss your case. You can listen to our deliberation and we'll come back to you with our decision. Mr. Sazowski, we'll begin with you.
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. So Mr. Robinson is, looks like 54, right? He'll be 55 tomorrow. So, you know, during our questioning and in documents, he claims his position is that he's innocent of all of these charges and most of the disciplinary reports. Tried to get him to come around and express some remorse or apology, and he did mention some things about not listening to his family when he was younger. That was about as far as we got. He did complete the Voices program, seems to have gained something out of that. It was back in 2019. He has some good work reports from his time while he's working. He's not working now. He seems to gain some insight from his religious services that seem to help him, as he articulated. He's been educating himself and has completed what it sounds like is probably 75% of his GED. He's got some more work to do on the math section. You know, he said a couple of times, two people don't want me to do good. So I just wanted to put that on there. I mean, speaking on behalf of me, I want him to do that. I want him to complete more programs and to not get disciplinary reports and be able to be ready to go out to the community and not be having more problems, you know? So I think that he should know there are people that want him to do well. And it is not the case that the entire world is against him and does not want him to do well. So considering everything that we've read and we've talked about today, I'm very concerned about the disciplinary reports. We've talked about it. At his age, at this point, his incarceration, it's unusual to see this happening. He was just in a fighting situation that he described, and he thought that there was no other way that he could have handled that without getting a disciplinary report, which is concerning to me, that he can't look back and figure out a way out of that situation without having gotten a disciplinary report. So for me today, I just don't think he's ready. And I think he should really try to stay disciplinary report free so he can get himself into this New Thoughts program that we talked about, and complete anger management is also on his offender accountability plan, and get back to working in the facility, you know, continue with his religious services and stay on a positive path, and getting himself prepared for release. At some point, he's going to get out. But for me today, I cannot support his parole.
Yeah, I mean, it's so unfortunate that what started as a 10-year sentence is now 55 and a half years. It's like, it's so hard to really wrap in. Sad. It's just so sad. But sentencing and length of sentencing, that's not our role. Our role is to determine if someone is rehabilitated and suitable, ready to be released to the community. We don't set the sentences. We don't. But it's just so difficult with these disciplinary reports, and right now he's not working and not in any program, so we can't really counterbalance all of the disciplinary reports. I certainly would bring him back. You know, I mean, he's got about 6 years left on this sentence, and I'd hate to see him go to the end. Ms. McCall-Mary?
I agree with everything that's been said. I mean, without some programming, it's difficult to really measure offender change. I think on a positive side, you know, I agree with Mr. Staskis. we would like to see Mr. Robinson suitable.
Yeah,
And bringing him back, I think it's a great opportunity for him to work on what
Yeah.
we've asked him twice now to work on, but we're not giving up.
right.
You know, he talked about not being so impulsive, understands life isn't
Mhm.
fair. I'd like to see him, those, you know, because some of these disciplinary reports are impulsivity and not responding to difficult situations in a different way. So I do agree, in terms of he's not suitable for parole today, and would agree to bring him back as well.
What time frame?
Yeah, so, I mean, he has, it's like about 6 years left.
6 years left, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he were to come back in say 2 or 3 years and he has no disciplinary reports and some programs, you know, can do anger management and new thoughts, continue his religious services, I think he'd be in a better position in a couple of years. So I don't know what.
I think, nothing more than 3 years. I don't know if 2 is enough.
Okay.
3 years.
For him to really kind of show.
All right. And then he'll still have 3 years to
Okay, so that's
supervision
fair.
in the community.
Mhm.
All right. What is today's date?
April 2025, so.
April, yeah.
April
April
2028.
4th, okay. Okay, in the matter of Shawn Robinson, MA number 148846, I'll make a motion to deny parole at this time, but we'll rehear the case in April of 2028. Reasons for denial being poor institutional adjustment, disciplinary reports, and inadequate program participation. We're going to recommend that you participate in positive programs to include anger management, new thoughts, and anything else. Continue with your education and avoid any further disciplinary reports. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank everyone for their participation. Mr. Robinson, we hope that you'll get into programs and avoid disciplinary reports for your next hearing. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you all. This concludes